Right, back again. So we are still working on the ExB. I ended up busting out the other front assembly right here so that I can get the other link off. And the reason I'm doing it this way now is because I ended up getting news from Horizon Hobby on some parts that were shipped out, which has basically shocked me. So I'm going to show you guys here in a minute what I mean by Arrma has shocked me, because without knowing what this issue is with the slop in the steering, the parts list that I got shipped out to me would make no sense. And that's why I'm curious, for one, and then kind of I don't want to say disappointed. I want to say kind of concerned. Because, and I'm going to bring up the parts list here in a minute. I'm going to just get this one link off. I'm going to change the way that I'm pulling these links because of the parts that they're sending me. That is interesting. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised on the parts list that Arrma is actually sending out to me. Honestly, because I was truly shocked. I was so shocked that I sent it over to RC Guy Garage, and I was like, "Hey, does this make sense to you?" So whenever I see something, and I have my own theories on why they're sending what they're sending, so that just pulls through. So I'm going to pop this one off as well from here. Go. And then I need some hardware for the Creighton, because these belong on the Creighton. The biggest thing that I struggle with, and I think I make it clear in a lot of my videos, is that honesty, especially with bigger companies, mean a lot to me. Especially on what they're telling us the truth about. I mean, that's why I turn on the cameras. That's why I try to record what I record, because I don't want, information, mistakes happen on information, but it's hard to say. It's honestly hard for me to say, because I mean, the guy could be totally wrong on the part that he's sending to me. You know what I mean? But it's just weird on the telephone conversation that I had with Horizon. You guys heard it. And I was shocked in that. I honestly thought that Horizon was going to send these ends to this one. I really thought that they were just going to send the ends because he didn't want to send the whole link. And unless you know what the issue is or what possibly could be the issue here, the parts that he's sending me, it just doesn't make it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, man, unless you know that there's a mistake that happened, you wouldn't be sending those parts, because it would have to be a pretty bad mistake, which means they would have had to have seen this mistake already once, is what I'm getting to. And he was clear on saying, no, we've never seen any issues with those links. We've never seen sloppiness in the tie rod ends. He was very clear about that. At least that's the way I took my question, is no, there's no issues with them. I'm the first. So I was like, hey guys, you guys really need to make those phone calls and call Horizon, especially if you want Horizon to do something about it. You know, it's like, you want Horizon to stick up for us, you know, and at least get the problem solved. You know, they need to know what the issue is, you know. So that's why I was shocked that they didn't say that, hey, we need those links back. You know, that's awfully strange, Mr. Moorhead, that you have all the slop in those arms. You know, because that's honestly the first we've ever seen it. And then I would have been like, yeah, let me get those arms right out to you, and let me get them next day aired, because we're gonna start getting some phone calls on this stuff, and you know, you don't want to send out the wrong part ever. So if you're unsure, what do? You send the whole part complete. At least that's what I would do, is send the whole part complete, and make sure that I'm covered, you know. Make sure that this customer, he's already having a bad experience by having to call you, email you, do all this stuff, because now I've become my own warranty department, you know, because who's fixing this RC? Who's taking the time? Who's now spent, you know, I'd say 8 hours of my time trying to figure out this steering problem? You know, it's me. It's my RC, you know. It wasn't a kit. It was an ExB roller, which means the roller, the part that they assembled, should be flawless. You know, the electronics and the steering and, you know, steering servo and that's all my responsibility. You know, slap that stuff in and let's get to work, you know. Let's get going. Let's bash this thing. See how this thing runs. Let's put it through its paces. Let's see how strong this RC really is. But I'm gonna grab my phone. I'm gonna grab the email. So right here is a parts list from Horizon. They, you know, you heard him on the phone. He's gonna send out a parts list. So let me read this for you guys. This is what they're saying is bad. And they're basically shipping one each of these items. I'm going to zoom in just on the items. So, pivot ball, M4 by 11 by 15-4 millimeters. And then pivot, and there's two of those. And then pivot ball, M4 by 11 by 19.5. And there's two of those. And then a composite ball cup set. So basically, he's sending the pivot balls and these I think, ball cups, which I think he would call these the pivot ball cups, which I think is the plastic part. So, composite ball cup set. They're sending all those out. So at this point, you know, the only thing I'm going to end up using is this rod, which means I'm going to have to spend a lot of time pressing in the ball cups, the pivot balls, into these ball cups, as they're calling them, the right way. Then there's two different sizes. This one I believe is by 19, this is by the 15. So the inner versus the outer. And then I'm gonna have to set them up to length, you know. What I'm seeing, just looking at this, I have a suspicion, and let me run this by you guys. My suspicion is these ball cups that are in the regular Creighton and the regular Outcast, these ball cups are a different size, and I have a feeling that these ball cups were pressed into the ExB ball cups, leaving all this slop. They're just a little smaller. So what I'm going to end up doing when the parts show up, I have the micrometer here. I'm going to mic them. I'm going to pop these pivot balls out. We're going to mic the ball, and we're going to mic the ball. And we're going to see if that's truly the case. That's what I think happened. At least that's the way it's looking to me with the parts that they're sending. I mean, honestly, it could be a problem with the plastic because they are sending the composite pivot ball set. But I don't know. I'm pretty unsure. Because, like he said, they're going to generate an invoice, which they did. And they're doing it pretty fast because it's only the next day. And I received an email this morning on this already. So I'm hoping it gets taken care of pretty fast. But as you see, I'm still going to go ahead and knock these things out of here. Now these, I have to hold this. It's funny, the ones on the ExB, the other ones getting off the Creighton are crazy hard. The ones on this, super easy. They unscrew with my finger. There's literally no Loctite on them. So now that I got those links off, I mean, honestly, this is a lot of work just for me, but I'd rather put in the work and figure out truly what the issue is than guessing. So it's funny, one is longer than the other. One is shorter and one is longer, and my Creighton is the same way. standing them up. One is longer, one is shorter. Not as dramatic as what these are showing, but remember, I readjusted these because of all the slop. So I think I could get that extra, you know, drop right there. So there is one longer and one shorter when it comes to your lengths. Yeah, see, one is screwed in more on one end. And I don't know why that is. Because by having one shorter and one longer, I know the control arms aren't different. I know the upper control arms aren't different left and right as far as length. So why would the control arms be one shorter and one longer unless there was something different with this, which goes that far, goes that far. Yeah, the distance seems the same. This is offset right here to the servo saver, so maybe it has something to do with this thing being offset, that the longer one would be this side and the shorter one would be this side, because that's the way it's looking. Yeah, that's honestly, because if I flipped them, that thing being in the center, this will go this way. That doesn't really reach. This would be the end. This would go this way, and that would be past it. So yeah, it looks like something to do with the position of this. Because you can't have it in the center, it would hit the drive shaft. Very interesting. The things I think about. Longer one and shorter one. So there we go. I'm gonna leave these complete because I want to see what comes. It honestly looks like I would imagine all these cups, as they're called, pivot ball cups, look to be the same length, which means the pivot ball size should be the same on all four. But it clearly said, is that the pivot ball size that they're talking about? Let me look at that photo again. So M4, they're both M4s. One's 1115.4 and one's 1119. So the 19, I imagine, is the longer one that goes down here. One, two, it's 3 off. So if this was 20, 1, 22, would be 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, so this is the 19 and this is the 15, just like I thought. I'm counting the black lines, guy, trying to figure out, because I've added these pieces on here, it's making my measurement off because the battery's dead. So I can't zero it out and count the numbers. So I'm gonna get a battery put in this thing, get one ordered up today. I got some somewhere, but I'll head over to CVS. I don't have any flat batteries here. So, but you can use the scale right here, but because I added this for rotors, when you zero it out, it's really not zero, because as you see, there's 3 left over. So that's taking up space. So I had to subtract the 3 from what I was actually measuring. And those are, like I said, I'm a mechanic, and these are to measure rotors and drums. So, and that's why I've got these tabs in here, is to measure the grooves that are cut into rotors sometimes. You got to get those points in there and see if you cut it, if it's going to be undersized. So that's why I added those on my micrometer, is that I added these so that I can measure the grooves that get cut into rotors. It's a caliper tool is what it is. I mean, yes, it's a micrometer, but it's specifically designed for measuring rotors and drums, because I can flip it around and measure out for the drums. So, not very big drums. I have another tool, a bigger one for big drums. But who measures drums anymore? Theoretically, who even cuts rotors anymore? They're so cheap to replace at $20 a piece. Why spend $25 and cut them? Unless you want the factory stuff, because the factory stuff is better. But there we go, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pause on this. I'm going to go ahead and get these links installed onto this next. I want to clean up a couple things. I want to clean this while it's apart. I want to overlook a couple of the sloppiness stuff that's going on with this bell crank right here. Because while I have it this far apart, any of this slop that I can remove from this thing, I will. If there's bushings, I'll stick bearings, whatever it is. See, there's bearings in there already. There's bearings in that already. So maybe I'll send Basher Queen an email and see if she makes a bell crank replacement thing for this. I know M2C makes an aluminum one for this. I'm trying to stay away from aluminum. Honestly, the only thing I really want aluminum is the chassis and these shocks. And of course the steel drive shafts and sway bars. But I want to keep everything with steering plastic as possible. I want this as light as possible based off my ready to run. I literally have no upgraded aluminum parts in this thing, and the thing's just a beast. With a Coke can motor. So I'm going to set this thing up the same way, just with a thicker chassis. Because I have bent the front of this chassis a little bit. I tweaked it right in here on a nose impact. But I don't care because it's not affecting alignment or anything. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, and we're going to start assembling this. Be right back. All right, so I've got the ExB links taken off. Look at my play now. Both wheels are moving. So that's the play I have. And that's nothing. That's the way all the other ones seem to be. My alignment's pretty much dead on again. And no real issues now. So next thing we're going to do is put my pins in for these braces. That's the bottom pin. My elbow's always in the way of that camera. But there we go, pins are back in. So, I mean, I honestly can't believe, all the work that I've had to do to this thing so far. But I think next thing is I'm going to get it out, rip it with these links in. Like I said, the parts are on their way. I'm going to get these batteries charged up. And we're going to get this thing back out. I've got the front set pretty high right now, just for the rocks, and we're going to give it a rip. I'm going to leave everything else the same. Basically all I did was change out the steering links, and as you see, I've got no play without moving the other wheel. And these links are over a year old, and they've been hammered in the M2C Creighton. They've taken a beating, and they never broke, but you know, they do have minor slop in the edge or in the ends, but that's to be expected. As hard as I've run these links. But there we go, guys. We're going to wait for the ExB links to come in. I'm going to leave these out for now so that I can match up the links when putting them together, because it looks like they're going to send them in pieces. But there we go. Everything's back together. I still got to get this body shoe glued before I send it out bashing again. But like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Definitely know that there's a problem, 100%. But at least we got it solved for now. My wheels are straight. I'm hoping that the trim setting will hold now, and we'll see how it does. We'll get it out, rip it, and see what it does. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on my next video. All right, so some after video thoughts. Wanted to get your opinion when it comes to a ready to run and a roller and the way the warranty process works. My biggest thing is, and the way I feel and why I made this video in particular is, even though Arrma is supplying the parts, I've done all the diagnosing, made up all the videos, taken all my time to get my ready to run that I paid $700 for, plus electronics and plus everything else that I got tied up into this thing. And now I'm probably, 2 full days into getting this RC back to working. And, being off at the current time, I have the time to do it. But, what about others like Bars and Tone? He got his roller before me. He slapped some electronics in it. He's having a steering issue as well. And, with work and him having to, fly around to do what he does for a living, he doesn't have the time to get this done. So at what point and what time frame does Arrma stop being responsible for this? What about all those guys with the Creightons that never caught this issue? Some people won't. They'll end up breaking their link because it's hammering on the plastic ball end. When it's loose like that, it's creating a little hammer in there. And landing bad, it's, you could snap the rod end. I have seen a couple with snapped rod end steering links that have been snapped already on the ExB roller, which is strange because I never snapped a steering link on the ready to run. I know that the rear links, they push in, but I'd rather have the threads push in than, to snap a link and end the day. At least when they push in, the RC can still keep going. It's got a ton of camber in it. So an RC Guy Garage, I know a lot of people purchase RCs that, don't even take them out of the boxes. If you've seen any RC Guy Garage videos, he purchases RCs and puts them on the shelf and, doesn't always get around to them. So what about those guys that find months later that their links are defective and they take it out of the box? At what time, what's the time frame for Arrma to cover this stuff? Are they going to believe that you bought an RC and let it sit around for, 3, 4, 6 months before you unboxed it and noticed the issue? Some people buy them as backups. Those are the same RCs. Difference is, shocks are a little weaker, steering links are a little smaller. But, still the same RC. I don't know, just some thoughts. Now I'm going to spend my time, and instead of sending me a complete assembly like a complete steering link, I'm getting it all in pieces. You know, the inner is going to be reverse thread, the outer is going to be normal thread, or vice versa. I don't know how they are, but that's how you're able to adjust it. So now I'm going to have to deal with all that stuff. It's just time. Now we become the warranty as the customers. And now you know why, you know, Arrma doesn't pull anything off the shelf like the Creighton ExB A scale. When the rear diffs were breaking, you know, I complained about it back then, that I had to take the diff apart 3, 4, 5, 6 times, you know, deal with shimming. That's something Arrma should have dealt with, not the customer. I shouldn't have had to sit on the thing for 7, 8 months waiting for them to send me a warranty diff. When they did, they sent it as an assembly, a complete diff, but I still had to pull the rear end apart. And by pulling that plastic cover on and off, the threads got weak. And then on the first bash out, that cover ripped off. So I ended up having to buy another complete assembly on my dime, on top of ruining now the ring gear and the pinion gear. So, you know, I mean, these problems become our problems because we bought these RCs, and I just don't feel it's right. I feel, you know, Horizon Hobby needs to take some responsibility. You know, send out a check or tell me where to send this RC to have it fixed. It's too new, you know, it's a week old. We're going on the 2nd week now. So, you know, you can take it back to your hobby store, but, you know, I already ran the thing. You know, why should my hobby store have to deal with it? I guess that's what they're in the business for. But I don't know. They should have a warranty department, you know, that takes care of this stuff. Because to ship a heavy RC would be ridiculous. You know, especially with all the electronics in it now. I don't know. Just some things going through my mind. You know, if you're not going to cover the labor to do this stuff, then send me complete assemblies and make it easier on the customer. Don't send me bits and pieces that I've got to pop together. I mean, I don't have pivot ball pliers to pop those things in, so I'm going to have to be creative. Or I'm going to have to go buy the tools for me to be able to do this job now. But just some thoughts, some after video thoughts. Comment down below. Maybe you know of a better way. Maybe if we can think of a better way, Arrma will solve it for us. They do seem to listen. But there we go, guys. Thanks for watching.